The Seattle Seahawks lose another one to the 49ers. This is the NW Sportscast. Welcome back to the channel. We talk all things Seahawks, Mariners, a little bit of Kraken, a little bit of Sounders, some UW Huskies, pretty much all things Northwest. And today we are talking about the football team, the Seattle Seahawks. You see in the picture, it was Drew Lock who got the start today, his first ever NFL start for the Seattle Seahawks. He hadn't started in the NFL since 2021 with the Denver Broncos, and he obviously wasn't that good in the Broncos. Lost the job to Geno Smith, so didn't expect a whole lot out of him. I predicted this game would probably be close early on, and then the Niners would pull away at the end. That's pretty much what happened. The Niners didn't pull away as much as I expected them to. The Seahawks did score 2 touchdowns on offense, one in the first quarter, one in the fourth quarter. Drew Lock, 2 touchdown passes. So that is 2 more touchdown passes than Geno Smith has thrown this season. In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Drew Lock actually has thrown more touchdown passes against the 49ers than Geno has in his entire time with the Seahawks. I'm pretty sure Geno only threw that one against them in the playoffs game last season. I might be mistaken. But I know we didn't score any in the game that we played them when it was Lance and Jimmy G. We lost that game 20-3. The next time when it was Purdy, I know we got blown out. I don't remember. Maybe Geno threw a touchdown in that game, and then he threw the one in the wild card game to DK, and then he did not throw any on Thanksgiving. So Drew Lock and Geno Smith either have thrown the same amount or Drew Lock has more, which is kind of crazy. And again, I'm not sure if Drew Lock is that bad. This is a weird game because like the Seahawks fans who think that Drew is bad are going to say, well, we lost and he threw a pick, so yeah, he's bad. And then the Seahawks fans who think Lock is better than Geno, the anti-Geno crowd, they're going to say, well, look what he did. He scored 2 touchdowns against the 49ers. Geno couldn't do anything on offense against the same exact team 2 weeks ago. So by that, in that standard, people are going to point to this as evidence that Lock is good and that maybe Lock should start. And then so yeah, it's just weird. Like, it's hard to really get a sense. Like, people are gonna believe what you want to believe, obviously, but in my opinion, I watched the whole game. The eye test tells me that Drew Lock's not as good as Geno. He can't make some of the throws, and he's just so brash with the football. Like, every time he throws, I have to hold my breath until I know that it's not a pick. Like, he makes some really kind of bad decisions. He missed some open receivers, DK a couple of times. And he just makes some weird choices with the football. There's one really in particular bonehead mistake that he made end of the second quarter, and he's got the ball and he runs across the line of scrimmage. He looks like he might be able to run for the first down, and then he throws it. It's like, dude, you have to know where the line of scrimmage is, because that ends up being a 5-yard penalty, and that ends up being half the distance to the goal, and we had 10-second runoff, and so the drive basically got killed. So it's like stuff like that where it's like Drew Lock it seems like his awareness is just not as sharp as it really should be. His situational gameplay, it just isn't really where the level that it should be right now. Again, I didn't really expect him to be amazing. I was pleasantly surprised. We came out and scored a touchdown early in the game. We scored another one in the fourth quarter, and at least I think we did a pretty good job making the game respectable. We didn't kind of just let them run all over us. There was a couple drives where we did let McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel run all over us, but again, like, for the most part, I wasn't that disappointed. But here's the key: is again, the Seahawks failed to do what we have to do to win, which is we have to win in the trenches. And today, Seattle total rushing yards 68, Charbonnet 44. He averages 4.9 a carry. He had a decent game. Kenneth Walker had a bad game, 21 yards, 8 carries, and I think he's probably still dealing with some of those injury struggles. And Drew Lock 5 yards on 3 carries. But yeah, you cannot let this happen when you're playing against such a physical team like the 49ers. You have to win in the trenches. Seattle's 68 rushing yards. The Niners rushed for 170 yards today. Christian McCaffrey, 145 yards. He actually didn't score a touchdown, which is crazy. Jordan Mason, 20 yards and a touchdown. Brock Purdy, 7 yards. And Deebo Samuel with 1 rushing yard, but that was a touchdown for him as well. McCaffrey was all over us again, just like it was when we played them on Thanksgiving. We don't have an answer for McCaffrey. We clearly don't. I don't know why we can't tackle him, but clearly that's a struggle. And I think the Seahawks in practice, they need to work on tackling. They need to work on making plays, stopping the run. When we traded for Leonard Williams, I keep saying this. When we traded for Leonard Williams, I did not expect our defensive line to get that much worse. I thought our defensive line was going to get better. We add in a good defensive lineman, and instead of our D-line getting better, since we traded for Leonard Williams, our D-line has maybe been the worst in the NFL. Of course, we have also been playing tougher opponents, so maybe that's why. But I really am just like, I wish we hadn't. People are going to be mad that I say this. I wish we hadn't have got off to such a hot start, because I think we deceived ourselves into thinking that we were a real contender this year, when we clearly now know that we are not. But because we thought we were a real contender, we made moves to suggest that we thought we were going to be a contender, such as giving up a second-round pick for a D lineman on an expiring contract. So now we have Leonard Williams, and we're going to have Leonard Williams when we miss the playoffs, and then we're not going to have Leonard Williams next year, and we're also not going to have that second-round pick that we probably could have used to help our future D-line or O-line. So like that trade, every game we lose, that trade looks worse in my eyes, because it's like, you don't make that trade unless you really think you're a contender. You know what I mean? And I think we thought we were a contender, but it's like, looking back, I wish we kind of would have looked at it and been like, okay, well, who did we really beat? We beat the Cardinals, who stink. We beat the Browns when they had PJ Walker playing for them. We beat the Panthers, who stink, the Giants, who stink. And we had one really pretty kind of good win against the Lions. So it was like, we didn't really have that strong of a resume, but because we were winning games and we were competing in that division, we went out and made a move that right now looks like it's a pretty bad move. Again, maybe we win out. Maybe we do make the playoffs. I don't know how that possibility of it. Right now, their chances probably are below 20% right now. The Rams are playing really well. The Packers have been playing really well, and the Vikings, I don't know if anyone scored a point in that game yet, but it's just the Vikings, they did win today. They beat the Raiders 3-0, so they're now ahead of us. So it's like, yeah, it's not looking good for our chances at the playoffs, and in that case, if you're going to miss the playoffs, then that was just a bad trade to make. Back into the game, though, talking about this, again, I reiterate, the trenches are the most important aspects of the game. Defensive line, how'd they do today? How'd the defensive line do? Julian Love did not play well. He's not on the D-line. We'll get to them later, actually. But the defensive line, Dre Jones has a sack. Leonard Williams did have a sack. Jaron Reed has a sack. So we got 3 sacks. The 49ers, how did their defensive line do? Nick Bosa, 1.5 sacks. Clennon Farrell with a sack. Javon Kinlaw, half a sack. Randy Gregory has a sack. So they out-sacked us. They outrushed us. The secondaries both actually played pretty bad, I would say. The 49ers did come away with a couple of interceptions towards the end of the game. Jair Brown, the rookie, again, that was a bad mistake from Drew Lock. You really can't having the rookie cornerback Jair Brown, who really has not done much for the 49ers this year at all, and he comes away with what was a massive interception for them. And then for the Seattle secondary, it was Julian Love who did get our 1 interception. It was kind of a weird overthrown ball, but Julian Love, I'm sorry, this has to be said. Julian Love and Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs, I think they're the worst safety core in the NFL right now. Our safeties cannot do a thing. They literally blow every single pass play, just every single one. Like 3 out of the 4 touchdowns the 49ers scored, it's Jamal Adams or Julian Love's fault. And I don't really know what the plan is for Jamal going forward. I think we pretty much have to cut him, though, because there's just no way you're going to let this guy stay in your team when he's costing you so many points. Like, Jamal and Bobby Wagner, 2 of the veteran guys, they're supposed to be leaders on your defense, and I don't believe Bobby's not being a good leader, but Jamal and Bobby Wagner are the biggest liabilities to this team right now, and Julian Love is the other one. We have 3 massive liabilities. If we had Devin Witherspoon, would this game have been different? Maybe it would have. I don't know if he fixes that much, though. He left the game in the first quarter. Obviously, you have to hope he's okay going forward. If you want any chance of beating the Eagles, you pretty much need to be at full strength. So, Geno, Jordan Brooks, Witherspoon, you got to get all of them back and healthy against the Eagles, on next Monday night, or else we're just not going to have a chance. Also, weird move flexing a 6-7 team to Monday night. I'll just say that I really kind of wish we weren't playing on Monday night, because man, we're just going to get exposed again on national television. All right. Ugh. Yeah. Ultimately, takeaways after this game: Seattle needs to be better on the defensive line. We have to be better running the football. The play calling was fine. Again, I've been harping on Shane Waldron all season. It's really hard for me to harp on him today when he obviously didn't have his quarterback. I think we tried way too many runs on first and second down, but also Drew Lock, he's not a good quarterback. So it's like people on Twitter are saying like, oh, you got to throw the ball more. Okay, well, if you throw the ball more, you're probably going to throw a pick. Drew Lock threw 2 picks. What's to say he wouldn't have thrown 4 picks if we had thrown the ball more on first and second down? So I don't really know. What I do know is that we had 2 good drives and we had like 10 really bad ones. And that's not a recipe to win the football game. You have to be more consistent. You have to just, you have to be physically the better team. And we weren't the physically better team in this game. We also were not the better schemed team in this game. So the 49ers, they deserve to win this game. I'm not saying they didn't. A few positive takeaways, though. I'm going to be a little bit positive here. Here's what I liked. Penalties were kind of a non-factor today, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed watching a football game where every single play there wasn't a flag, because that Dallas game just got ridiculous. And I'm sorry, but the refs, I think they really kind of realized that we need to be better. So I'm happy to see a game that's, the Seahawks, we didn't cost ourselves any points, I thought, with penalties. We didn't cost ourselves any points as far as just like stupid plays. I thought we did a pretty good job on that. A few penalties that did end up mattering was that the double offsetting penalties on the fake punt that helped us. There's a couple that hurt us, but not that badly. So it was nice to watch a mostly clean game of football, because I feel like a lot of the time, especially when we're on the field, that doesn't happen. Another positive from this game, I think you do have to look at this as a positive as far as just like Drew Lock. He operated the offense fairly well. He scored 16 points. The defense didn't hand us free points today. Like, against the Cowboys, the defense helped us out. The refs helped us out. Drew Lock put up 16 points against a really good 49ers defense. So it does give me a little bit of belief that, like, okay, the offense, not that bad right now. The offensive line has improved. That's obviously a plus. So that's a good thing. But yeah, there's quite a few negatives to this game. You have to look at it. The biggest negative, I think, is the 4-game losing streak. When we were 6-3 and we talked about how this could happen, I don't think anybody really thought this would happen. This is the worst case scenario. I guess the worst case scenario is if we lose to Philadelphia, then it would be 5 straight losses in a row, and that would just be really unfortunate. I don't know how you recover from 5 straight losses in a row, to be honest. But we're gonna have to try. Another negative, Devin Witherspoon's injury. That sucks. He's on pace to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's our best player on defense, and when you lose the best player on defense, that's not a good thing. So have to hope he's okay. I don't know if he will be. We'll see. Another negative, like I said, the safety's not playing well. Jamal Adams, dude, if you are gonna get mad at reporters for trolling you, then you have to step up your game. You can't just let yourself get burned by Deebo Samuel every other play. That's what he was doing. That's definitely a negative. And can we just say, Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, I hate those guys. Why do they always pop off against us? Why? I'm so annoyed with Deebo Samuel. Let's see, another negative. Look, we haven't beat the 49ers since Russell Wilson left. It's been 2 full seasons since we've beat this team. That's not a good thing. We have to be able to beat this team. And Pete Carroll, I think that's kind of incriminating on Pete Carroll and his coaching staff. People love Pete Carroll, but I'm telling you, I think Russell Wilson carried Pete Carroll through a lot of that. And I don't know, man. I'm just an average YouTube analysis guy. I'm not a professional at this. But in my opinion, when you say with Russ, he was 17-4 against the Niners, and without Russ, he's now 0-5 against the Niners. You say, well, the Niners are better. Well, the Niners have been better than us before, and Russell Wilson dominated them. When they had Kaepernick and Harbaugh and they were winning the division, the Seahawks were still competitive against them with Russell Wilson. Right now, we don't look like we're that competitive against them. The score looks kind of close, but there was never a moment in that game where I really thought we were going to win. And there was never a moment in Thanksgiving when I thought that. There was never a moment last season when I thought that. You just know that they are that much ahead of us right now, and that's a bad thing. And yeah, so there's just a ton of unfortunate things that are going on right now with this team. 6-7, play the Eagles next. And I don't know how it improves from here. I really don't see the path of this is how we're going to beat the Eagles. This is how we're going to, rise from the ashes and make the playoffs. Because right now, it just feels like we get worse and worse. Every time one thing good happens, it's met with 2 more negatives. And that is a really sad way for the season to end, but that is what it's looking like. So for now, we still have a chance. 6-7, we're now tied with the Saints, Rams, and Falcons. And so it's the Vikings are the 6th seed right now at 7-6. The Packers are 6-6. They play tomorrow night against, I don't know who. I don't remember who they play, but the Giants. So they'll probably win. So you assume they beat the Giants. They'll also be 7-6. So that means the Vikings are the 6th seed, the Packers are the 7th seed, and then 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th is a 4-way tie between the Seahawks, the Rams, the Falcons, and the Saints. And out of those 4 teams, if anyone I think is gonna rise into the playoffs, I think it would be the Rams and the Saints. I don't really see Seattle and Atlanta being able to do that, but as a Seahawks fan, obviously I hope that we will. So there's my analysis post-game. Comment down below. I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to disagree with a lot of what I had to say today, but that's just what it is about, operating this YouTube channel, and that's kind of the fun of it, we get to have conversations, we get to have debates, we get to talk about sports in a way that's not just, we get to talk about sports in an intelligent way, and I think that's what's really fun about doing this, having this podcast. I'm never going to stop rooting for my Seahawks, but I also try to be kind of, I don't want to be that guy who just blindly says, like, oh yeah, we're going to win, it's all going to be fine, because, that, to me, that just makes me mad even more when we do lose. So I try to be realistic with my expectations. I'm trying to be somebody who's able to kind of objectively see the sport and understand the sport without just being leaning only towards my team. So obviously I want the Seahawks to win against the Eagles. I don't think it will happen, and I think that's perfectly fair take to have. Obviously I'll be over the moon if they do, and we'll have more coverage going into that next week. But like I said, guys, comment down below, like the video, dislike the video, I don't even really care. Just keep watching, keep following the channel. We love all the support, and we love just getting to know all of our subscribers, new subscribers, people we've met on Twitter. It's really fun to kind of be a part of this new community, for us at least. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and go Hawks.